On the home front, perception versus reality. Most people think violent crime is getting worse in America's big cities, but recent statistics show murder fell 12% in 2023 over 2022. That's one of the sharpest declines on record. Yet a Gallup poll out last fall showed 77% of Americans think crime increased last year. Well, joining us is Robert Woodson, founder and president of the Woodson Center, an organization dedicated to local community and neighborhood revitalization. Mr. Woodson, it's good to have you with us, and I know you've worked for years in inner cities, helping to empower people to be agents of change in their neighborhoods. So, although overall violent crime was down last year, it increased in cities like Dallas, Memphis, Washington. There are many cities where violent criminals are still terrorizing neighborhoods, and it'd be hard to convince people that it's not occurring as much as before, especially in the aftermath of that Super Bowl parade shooting in Kansas City. So what do you see happening?
Well, I think since the death of George Floyd, where progressives have vilified the police, and as a consequence, you have what they call the Ferguson effect, where police are less aggressive in enforcing the laws in some of the high crime neighborhoods, and as a consequence of this vilifying the police, they're less aggressive, and so crime goes up. That's one of the causes of it, and so we have been fighting against that. 80% of the black community who are suffering in these communities are against defund the police, but a lot of the social activists on the left continue to promote this vilification and attack on police with the dire consequences. They don't live in the neighborhoods suffering the problem, so they don't have to live with the consequence of their advocacy.
Yeah, it's easy for outsiders to come in and say, do this, isn't it? And I follow local news regularly. It seems like there's a shooting or murder almost every day right here in the 7 cities of coastal Virginia. And many politicians and community organizers would say that tougher gun laws are the answer. That hasn't stopped the high murder rate in Chicago, other cities that have tough gun laws. So what do you think should be done to reduce violent crime?
Well, not only do I think it, I've had experience in reducing violence. We have, when a lot of this violence is being committed by a very small cohort of people who are generating it. What we do is we recruit what we call Josephs. We are people who are from that community who represent community antibodies. In other words, whenever there's injury to the human body, healing begins because the body is equipped with antibodies. Well, the same phenomena occur within the highest crime neighborhoods. Sickest part of the body draws the strongest antibody. They are healing agents, people who, through God's grace, have been redeemed and transformed, and they have moral authority and the social trust of these young people. And when you enlist them to engage these young people and witness to them that they are making the wrong choices, and when you support them, they have the ability to redeem and transform these young people. And so those who have been leading other young people into negative behavior, they become agents of change, and we have changed. People have been converted from predators to ambassadors of peace. Last summer, in one of the most violent neighborhoods in Washington, D.C., for 100 days, we didn't have a single violent incident of any kind. And that's because of the presence of a group called the Alliance of Concerned Men. These are ex-offenders who God's grace have been redeemed and transformed, and they exercise this kind of moral authority with the young people in the community, with the result that they disarm themselves. And so that's what we've got to get behind. We've got to support healing agents within these communities, people that have the moral authority and the social trust of these young people, and therefore they can guide them to lives of responsibilities away from violence, but they are agents of their own uplift, and that's what we've got to promote.
We're not seeing a lot of love in our society today, are we? What's the cause and more solutions?
First of all, the problem is not racial. We have to be transracial. I mean, we really have to understand race is a distraction. And so what we reckon, according to a Harvard study, that the highest form of deaths are occurring among white kids in suburban or Silicon Valley, the suicide rate is 6 times the national average. The highest cause of death of young people in Appalachia is prescription drug and homicide in the inner city. And that's because when young people are growing up with a hole in their heart, life does not have content or meaning. They devalue life to the point where they'll take their own or take someone else's. They're different sides of the same coin. That's why we must put race aside and come together the way the Woodson Center is doing. We have thousands of groups called the Voices of Black Mothers United. They're coming together with white mothers from Appalachia and Silicon Valley, and what we call the Mothers Consortium, so we can come together and seek solutions across race and class lines so that we can begin to come up with strategies to fill that emptiness that's in the hearts and souls of our young people. But we can't do it if we're constantly in this tribal conflict on the false issue of race or injustice in society.
Okay, churches can lead the way. Robert Woodson of the Woodson Center. I've been talking with you about these issues for nearly 40 years now. You're still out there leading the way to bring about neighborhood revitalization and transform lives. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, and God bless you as well.